Exciting news, the last spell has a new patch, and we're going to talk all about the balancing changes in this video. For context, this is the first minor patch after the major patch that added the new Harpy boss, moved the Dryads to Glenwall, and added the Loch Ness monster, also known as Crescia, I believe. So we're going to talk about all about the balancing changes and generally my thoughts and opinions on what's new in the last spell. So we'll talk about that first point in just a moment with a screenshot, but very excited about it. There's some bug fixes to at least one bug that I ran into on stream, and then a bunch of balancing changes that seem welcome, if not a little generous. So let's get right into it. So first and foremost, we have a progress bar for the boss waves. Thank goodness it's finally here, especially with Glenwall, which is what I was playing yesterday. You just get wave after wave after wave of druids, and you have no idea how far through the progression you are. So this will be really nice because it will give you a good idea of exactly what is going on, how close you are to the end, if you're going to be able to eke by or not. So very welcome change, happy to see it. Next up, we have the bug fixes. Now, I don't know if this first one is going to affect me or not. It is a fix for zoom level on 2K or higher screens. I think this probably isn't going to impact me. I think they have another bug with zoom level that's slightly different, which is when boss actions are happening, they like to zoom in on them, and then they don't zoom back out, and then as they pan around the battlefield, they're panning at a very high zoom level. You lose a lot of the action. It feels bad. This, though, I think is just a fix for a monitor resolution issue. There are also some sound stacking issues. I never ran into those. The next one, though, I take offense to. Fixed a soft lock when spamming the firing button on catapults. I was not spamming the firing button on catapults, but I definitely experienced the catapult soft lock. I'm psyched that it's fixed. It made me very hesitant to use catapults, but I just took a lot of time between my shots, and I guess I was okay. Apparently, by doing that, you could also fire multiple shots. Who knew? I have also been blocked on this next one, which is fixing the meta favors for more rerolls. I have no idea what I need to do to unlock those. I assumed it was number of rerolls that I had done, but to this date, I hadn't unlocked them. It looks like there was a bug that was legitimately stopping me. I'm very excited to have 3 rerolls. I have about 800k Tainted Essence, and I've been dying to spend a little bit of it on those new upgrades. And then fix the unlock for Glenwall. Glenwall's been unlocked for me forever, so I don't really know. Fix self-cast skills not working on boss units. Interesting, hadn't noticed that one. And then finally, fix a soft lock on the loading screen that I also hadn't run into. All of these are great bug fixes, though. Very happy. The catapult one and the more rerolls one are 2 that I am super excited to check out next week on stream. Next up, waves. Added more hunters in waves of Glenwall. I think that's fine. They were pretty absent. I found the Twisted to be pretty abundant on APOC 3 on my last run. And then for perks, Big Game Hunter was too strong. It was. I loved it. It was a must-take perk, especially on hand crossbows, where I assume with a fair amount of multi-hit, it is still going to be broken good. But yeah, I think this is a much-needed nerf. I'm not too mad about it. Next, the Harpy boss fight got some balancing. All of the bosses got a balancing pass, but let's talk about them. So the Corrupted Harpy is the main Harpy boss, I believe. It has less health, less movement points, and its damage is decreased. So I'm guessing that for a lot of people, it was like dive bombing and insta-gibbing one of their characters, which is pretty hilarious, but clearly not the intention of the game. And then also the Flying Assault maneuver attack, its range has been increased and has a cooldown before being usable again. So I presume the Harpies will be a little less mobile, but I didn't find them particularly challenging or troublesome when I played them. But who knows, maybe on APOC 6 they're a little more beastly. I will say one thing that is noteworthy, I think there needs to be a little bit more scaling on the APOCs related to bosses. I don't believe that things like increased health pools affect bosses, and they probably should. Then the small harpies got some crit chance, which I think is an interesting bit of flavor, and a damage down. The baby harpies didn't really ever bother me, but interesting. Now on to Cetusia. I guess I got that name wrong earlier, but this is the boss of Lakeburg, the Loch Ness monster, the thing in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, the sea monster. So quantity of enemies in waves have been reduced. This is going to feel good. The last time I did Lakeburg, I was drowning in enemies at the end of that fight. And the boss's general structure has been changed to be a little less repetitive. So each time it pops up, it's going to do slightly different things. We'll talk a bit more about those, but it looks like the first 2 times it shows up, its head has a little less health, a little more armor, a little less block, and a little less resistance. I read this as an overall nerf. I think that most of the time, I was not letting the head hang around for multiple turns, so the increased armor is not going to be any different, and we're getting more of a health offset than an armor offset, and then less block and resistance is just less block and resistance. It's going to die faster. So overall, I think this is making the initial wave heads less impactful. The next, and this is very welcome, but is also going to make the boss substantially easier, is there's going to be a charge before doing head smash or hydro catapult. So what that means is the head's not going to pop up and instantly blow up 2 of your casters, which is something that almost happened to me a few times. Splash is not going to last for 3 turns. That snare was brutal. It was -3 for 3 turns, which was just vicious. Added a debuff -30 damage. That's going to be annoying, but I believe Splash was the point blank AoE, so I'm not too worried about it. Poison is going to be effective because she won't dispel herself, and she's going to charge before she does it. I'm planning on taking her out first turn every time until they make that impossible. Hydra Catapult is also going to come with a snare still, but it is going to be less punishing. Putrid Water has been moved to the tail, so the tail is going to be doing the poisoning. And then Head Smash is going to do more damage. I assume that's a melee attack. I don't think I've ever even seen it, to be honest. And then she is going to inflict damage and a debuff around her in melee upon defeat. So you're going to want to kill her at a range, it seems. And then as for behavior, she's going to be a little more predictable. I didn't find her particularly unpredictable, but like I do think a lot of this design goes towards making the fights that are long more interesting, and these fights are never long for me. I think if you're doing well, you're insta-giving these bosses right away. The tail, more squishy. Again, we're getting less health, more armor, less block, less resistance. This just means this is just a flat nerf, in my opinion. It can now use Putrid Water, but its damage has been reduced and still carries that poison. It needs to charge before using Putrid Water, so you're going to have to leave it up for a turn. And then Tail Smash has more damage. I presume it will be doing that when it first pops up now, rather than charging, and it's inflict damage and debuff when upon its defeat also. So again, kind of nerfing melee characters being able to fight her effectively. Not sure how I feel about that. And then the tail's generic behavior is more predictable. Cool. Now, Enraged, which is the final phase, has been made just straight more tanky. So 50 block, slightly less resistance, but more health just means that may go on for 2 rounds if you can't muster the damage. But I expect you'll be able to. I'm not too worried about this change. I don't think this is a meaningful change. Once you know that the red head is popping up next turn, right, that boss bar is almost full. I think it always pops up in the same place, and you're just gonna all hands on deck to kill it. The eggs have changed. So the resistance was rough. And the resistance was primarily rough if you got hoppers at the same time, because then it would get its resistance up to like 99 and you wouldn't be able to do anything. I think this is a good and bad change. The reason I like it is because it means that everybody is more capable of killing the eggs. I don't like it because it was a piece of uniqueness for casters, right? Your magic users have innate resistance piercing. It was interesting to try and push people in that direction. I would like in the long term for certain bosses to favor different archetypes of characters so that you're like, oh yeah, this is Lakeburg. I need to focus on generating more magic users to be able to handle the Wyrmlings and their eggs. Kind of a bummer. Would have liked the flavor. C'est la vie. It happens. In addition to that, the Wyrmlings got a straight nerf to everything but crit, less health, less resistance, and bite hits a little less hard, but has more of a chance to crit. Overall, I don't see this developing a uniqueness to Wyrmlings, which is what I want. I feel like in like D&D lore and things like that, Wyrmlings are often like mage hunters. And I think it would be really cool to make the worm eggs weak to mages, maybe even make the boss weak to mages, but then make the Wyrmlings kind of like magic devourers or something like that. We're not seeing that here yet, maybe at some point in the future. The Dryad boss fight. This is the fight that I did last night on stream. Had a great time with it on Apocalypse 3, but it was vicious. And some of the reasons it was vicious are going away. So happy and sad to see it go, but primarily quantity of enemies is going down, which I think was the thing that was most likely to kill me. I got overwhelmed. I was literally like teleporting characters through masses of enemies just to fight the druids and then running them away again. Never underestimate Blink. Just saying. The boss's general structure has been altered to feel more predictable. I had a wave where I had 7 druids spawn. I'm hoping they kind of smooth that out. Maybe it ramps up 1 druid the first night, 2 the second night, 3 the third night. I think if you did it progressively like that, you would end up with 15, not 16. So that may be why. That's like, what is that? That progression of numbers has some significance. But anyways, my point is, I have a feeling that's what they did. We'll have to wait and see when we start working on APOC 5 Glenwald. I'm filled with dread just thinking about it. The Dryads also got a slight health down, a slight armor up, a slight block down, a slight dodge down, and a slight resistance down. I think this is overall making them slightly more squishy despite the increased armor. I will go on record again as saying that something that is a 4-tile sized enemy as big as a barn with walls surrounding it should not have dodge. Then in addition to that, counterattack's damage was increased, but its armor piercing property was removed. Probably a good thing. Will protect your melees if you fail to kill them. And the Dryads now spawn less seed mortars and sprayers, but more hatcheries. Total number remains the same. This is great. The seed mortars are terrifying. They are the RNG component that I think could single-handedly ruin everything. So I'm very happy to see that they are less numerous than they were before, because there were just too many of them. They can target you through walls. They have vision. There's a whole bunch of reasons they are incredibly dangerous and very hard to work around. Speaking of which, let's talk about seed mortars right after we talk about the monoliths, which gained 40 hit points, which I can never imagine being problematic. I don't think this is, this is budget dust, doesn't matter. But the seed mortars are more squishy, less armor, less dodge, and Venom Strike applies 5 less poison. So we're going from 4 times 15, which is 60 poison, all the way down to 40 poison. It is a welcome nerf. Again, I'm a little sad because I feel like another piece of uniqueness of Glenwall could have been the emphasis or importance of cleanse. And right now, this level of poison I don't think is sufficient for me to itemize towards that. The sprayers similarly got the same treatment across the board. They are easier to kill. And the protective spores buff radius was also shrunk. So they are going to be less scary and easier to kill. And then finally, the hatcheries got a big HP nerf, a big armor nerf, and a big resistance nerf. So overall, making that easier. we just beat it on APOC 3. I think APOC 5 would have given me a really, really hard time. Maybe this will give me enough to go the extra mile. So that is the 0.97.2.1 patch. Very excited to play it later on stream. If this kind of content is interesting to you, please toss me a like, maybe a sub if you're interested in more content like this. There's also a Discord linked in the video description down below where we talk about the strategies that work and don't work for us in the last spell, as well as talk about Darkest Dungeon, Gordian Quest, and the other games that we're playing. But for now, thank you for watching. Hope to see you on a live stream in the future, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.